The style has the hashtag. If you remember how to get an image in there to drag and drop it, see if you can drag and drop your logo in there. I'm getting mine. I'm going to open up my file explorer and I am going to drag it and drop it in there. I think that's what we did yesterday. And again, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go into my file explorer. Now I already know, I believe mine is in downloads. And I called mine SLA_logo. Pretty good name for what it is. Again, I found mine. This is the file explorer. This is that little file icon. Mine happens to be in the downloads. Now I do have one in my pictures as well that I've already made small, but I'm not going to use that. Okay, so you can have it in different places. I don't know where yours is. Mr. Jerry puts them on there. So talk with him if you need to know what where he's locating them. I'm going to literally grab this and I am going to just start dragging it in. I know yesterday you threw it in here. Try a little bit more specific this time. Try to put it right on the images. Right on the images folder and let go. Now you'll see the logo. And you'll notice your little angle bracket is now pointing down, so you can close that file and open it up. Now your logo doesn't need to be SLA_logo.png. It's probably going to be .png because we're all using the same logo, but it's whatever you named it. Now, if it's named something crazy, then I would encourage you to, I believe you can right click and rename it right here. I would rename it. Okay, now I'm going to challenge you girls. Okay, so I want to see if you girls can now, inside of what you've just done, see if you girls can figure out how to put in, how do you add an H1, how do you add the logo? Now that you have your two files, your index.html and your style.css, don't worry about the style.css, using your HTML, how do you put in an H1 and your image? See if you can do that. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try to do that on your own. Remember, shift 1 to get the boilerplate to start the whole thing.
Then you start here.
I would please put these two things inside a nav element. Please use the nav element to put your H1 and your image. See if you can do that. So when you're done, it's going to look like, let me get rid of my other image here real quick.
And you see, is H1 is correct. H1.
So this is what it's going to look like when you pull it up on yours. It's going to be the name. Now you can do whatever you want. I did SLA grammar school. You can do whatever you want as far as that. Obviously, your logo is going to be the exact same. Now your logo is going to be extremely huge. Don't worry about it. Just for you to see that. In fact, I'll just do it exactly what yours is going to look like too. So it's probably going to look exactly like this because your logo is so huge. So you're going to have a nav element. Inside of that nav element, you'll have your H1, which will be whatever you want to name it, SLA Grammar School, your St. Louis Grammar School, however you'd like, and then your image element. If you have any questions, please ask. If you understand, please help your fellow classmates understand. If you already did it, throw it out and do it all over again. Practice. You're only focusing on the index.html. There is no styling with this right now. Once you get it in, then we will do that. Were you girls able to do that?
Yes.
Awesome job, girls. I'm very proud of you. Okay. So I'm just going to go through real quick how I did mine. And, you know, maybe you did yours the same. Maybe you did it completely different. So that was a different folder. So I'm just going to go get the one that I just made right now. Okay. All right. So here's the new one that we just put in. I'm going to get rid of my logo. I'm going to go to index, shift 1 to get that exclamation and hit enter. This is called the boilerplate. You have to have this to start. You don't have to change the document, but I am. I'm going to call it home page SLA. Okay.
Wait.
You girls didn't do that. So remember, okay, so let's practice that. That's why we're doing this. Let's practice it. So you have to get what's called the boilerplate. So you shift 1. That will get you that little exclamation mark. And then you can just immediately hit enter. You have your doc type HTML. You have the language. You have your head element, which has some meta tags in there that deal with the UTF, I believe, Mr. Victor, that's dealing with the characters, right, that are being used in the UTF-8 is dealing with the type of characters being used.
Exactly.
Okay. And then the viewport, that's everything you can see when you open it up. And then it just is dealing with the width device. That's, I believe, dealing with rescaling as well. And then you have your document title. Okay.
Yeah,
You are
responsive.
writing your nav bar, or I'm sorry, you're writing your nav tag inside of your body. So I'm going to enter down NAV tab. Whoops, I shouldn't be doing it capital letters. NAV tab, and then enter down. Okay, so we're going to write our H1 inside of here and our logo. All right. So H1, literally H1 tab. What do you want it to say? What do you want your homepage of your school website to say? Do you want it in all capital letters? However you want it. Once you write that, you should be able to look and do your show preview, and you should see it on there. Okay. Once you've done your nav, well, it doesn't even matter. You don't need the nav to do the H1, but once you've done your H1, you should see it. Okay, the nav doesn't have any words on it. Okay, and then do your image. Again, inside of the nav, IMG. What's the source? The source is the folder, which ours is images. As you start writing, it gives you the auto hinter. You only have one image in there, so once you start seeing images, as you see the little folder icon, I click tab, and then there's only one in there, so I just click tab, and that's it. Okay. Now it is extremely important that you write inside of the ALT. Okay, that way, if for some reason it doesn't load on that browser, something happens, especially a screen reader. If somebody needs a screen reader to read, it will read what that is. Okay, well, the screen reader will read what that is no matter what, but that's the purpose of this. So I'm going to write SLA, be very specific, SLA school logo, or I'm just going to say logo. I mean, maybe image. Okay, there you go. Is this you girls getting this? Is that good? Please erase and do it all over again if you're not too sure. Now we're going to spend a couple of minutes on this and understand what's going on when we deal with the margin and the padding and everything. So I really want you to be playing around and having fun with this. Okay.
Excuse me.
Now, yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, I want to call your attention to something, and that is the spelling of the grammar beside the school. It should be MMAR, not NMER.
Oh, thank you so much. That's why I'm a web dev person and not an English major. Graham R. Thank you. Awesome job. All right. Now, just real quickly, so I can explain what's going on, I want to quickly make our logo a lot smaller, and then I'll explain what's going on. So remember, you have to link your style.css to your index.html. Do you remember how to do that using the link tag?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do mine under title. Go ahead and do it. Link your style.css to your HTML using the link tag. Once you've done that, now go to your style.css. I just want to make the logo a lot smaller. The logo is image, height.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm just going to do it 100 pixels. Pixels is a measurement of unit of measurement. The pixels are extremely small. Okay, I like to use pixels. There are other ones, EM, REM. You can do percentage. I stick with pixels. They are a really small unit of measurement. Okay, that's what the PX stands for. So just quickly, just make it, you know, height and width 100 pixels. In a minute, you'll be able to change it to what you want. Okay. Okay. I explained 2 days ago that I want you to look at everything on here, SLA Grammar School and your logo, as boxes. Okay. When we're dealing with margin and padding. Now, the margin is everything outside of the box. And the padding is what is going to be inside of the box. So if you literally have a box and you want to ship something, you're going to put that item inside the box and you're going to put padding around that item. That's the padding. We have 4 boxes. Your body is a box. Your nav bar, or I'm sorry, your nav element is a box. Your H1 and your IMG. Okay. So if you look at right now, if you open this up, the whole white area is the body. That's a box. Now, our nav doesn't have any definition to it. So we're going to add some color to our nav, and then we'll be able to kind of mold that box. Okay. So I'm going to go into my style. Now, I do like to do things in order since my nav is first before my image. I am going to go up and do my nav first. Okay. So what happens if we just say, well, what if we just did this? I told you that the body is a box. What if you just did body, curly brackets, background color? Make it a color. I like to do light gray because looking at that white screen is not the best. What happens? It's going to turn your whole thing gray. That's a box, right? That's the biggest box we have. Okay.
I'm not going to take it.
I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you to see. And I'm going to use the live server. And so this is how mine's looking. You can see now that the body is all gray. The whole thing is gray. That's a box, right? Okay, that's the biggest box. Inside of that body box, we now have our nav. What happens if we background our nav? Look what happens when you background your nav. Your nav is only going to deal with the contents that are inside of your nav. What are the contents inside? The H1 and the image. That's it. Okay. Let's make our nav bigger. Let's make that box bigger. Add width and height. Height. Maybe you want to make it 500 pixels. Now, my nav bar or my nav element is 500 pixels tall. It takes up the whole width of it, but it's 500 pixels tall. Okay. And you'll notice that there's a smidgen of margin around the whole thing. At the top, you see some color of your background. On the sides, that's what I wanted to get rid of on Tuesday. Okay. This is the margin. Now, there is margin below, but there's nothing to see, so you can't really tell that there's actually margin below. But if you put something below, there would be a little bit of space. Okay. Please play around right now for a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, with the height and the width. What happens if I give it a width? And I give it a width of 200 pixels. What does that look like? What does it do to my nav bar? That's a box. Imagine that as a box. Okay. Okay. So take a minute and play around. Change the height, change the width. Okay. When you're all done, we want the width to be 100% of the whole viewport. So when you're done, I don't care what your height is, but make your width 100% of the whole viewport. Okay. Now, as I said, we like to get rid of all of the padding and all of the margin for the whole thing. And so we'll do that right now. At the very, very top, you do the asterisk, which is Shift 8. And then you're just going to say margin 0.
Is this one I use a primer for this one?
Now you can see that you are not going to have any color of your body on the top or the left and right of your nav because we got rid of the margin right here with the asterisk, Shift 8. That's an asterisk. And then we'll get rid of the padding inside as well. Padding 0. I always just do that for everything. Okay. Line 1 to line 4, just tell everything that's on there. There's no margin or padding. Line 6 is the body. You did a color. Then you have your nav. Now you want to move around things inside your nav bar. Okay. Now, watch what happens. Remember, the two things that you're shipping to your friend are SLA Grammar School and this the logo, but you don't want them to the side of the box. They're going to get broken. So what happens if you add padding? Inside of the nav, because the nav is a box, I'm going to add padding. When I use one word padding, there is padding on all 4 sides of that item. And both of these items are stuck together. Do something like 50 pixels. Do a big number and see what happens. Hey, that's not even that big.
Okay.
Do you notice how that now there is space on the left side and the top of your grammar and your H1 and your logo? Because you put padding. Put 350 pixels. What happens? What is happening to that? You're adding more padding from the outside of the box. That's what you are doing. So because you have two items inside, you're adding padding to it, okay? Now, when anything comes in, it's called block element. It's up and down. Everything's written up and down. That's why these are above and below each other, okay? Now, if you wanted your image on top, you would go into your index and you would grab your H1 and you would put it below your image. Now when I run it, now my image is on top, okay? But they're in a column, a block, okay? Now we always, not always, but we want it left and right. And we're gonna do something called flex, okay? So I am going to display, I'm going to get rid of the padding, but you can see that's what's happening with the padding. We'll add padding back. Oh, let me just show you. Don't get rid of it. You can highlight it, Control / and it will comment it out. So now the code is still there, but it's not being read by the computer. So I can still have it. Okay. So highlight it, Control CTRL / undo and comment it in. This is just how I write mine. I always do the display, then the justify content, then the align items, and then things. You'll figure out your own pattern. Okay. We want these two items to no longer be on top and below. We want them to be left and right. So we're going to do display flex. Okay. Then run it. Now you'll notice that your two items are left and right. Okay. All because of the display flex. Highlight it, Control / you can see that it's no longer. Okay. So just take a look at that. That's how you're going to make them left and right. Okay. There's kind of three things, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Victor. Well, two things that come along with the display flex, the justified content and the align items. The justified content will make things move left and right, and the align items will make things move up and down. So now I really want you to play with justify content. When you click justify content, look at all of these things that you can do. Okay. Flex end is going to make it go all the way to the right. When I do flex end, please do that. Please do it. I want you to take a good 5-6 minutes just playing around with the justify content. I told everything to flex end, goes all the way to the right. That's it. Okay. Justify content. You are just going to be playing around with justify content. Okay. If you do flex now, if you kind of do this, you should be getting this little helper. Okay. Flex end, flex start, center, left, right. Okay. Try them. Baseline. I don't know what that is. Try it. See what it is. Baseline. Okay. Didn't do anything for mine. Okay. Oh, I think something went wrong there with that last. There's center. You can do center. Okay. It centers everything. Okay. Remember, it's going to do the logo and the words all together. Okay. Now in the at the very beginning, I showed you what we're kind of doing. I did flex start. Flex start is going to make everything to the right. Okay. Or I'm sorry, to the left. Make everything to the left. Why can't I grab mine?
I guess that's.
The next one, now the justified content is only dealing with left and right. Now, let's say you want that in the exact center of your, you know, your bar. So I'm going to do align items. Okay, align items, center. Okay. Now, because I told my content, my justified content to be flex start, I told it that I only want my stuff on the very left-hand side. So when I told it to align center, it did. It centered it. It doesn't center it into the center because I told my justified content to be flex start, to be all the way over on the left. Okay. So play around, you can play around with that. Okay. Now I think what we want to do, we probably don't want our little nav bar to be 500 pixels. I'm going to make my nav bar 200 pixels. Now it's a little bit easier to see and kind of see what's going on. So I just made the height of my navigation bar 200. Again, this can be any color you want. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now, how are you going to be able to separate? You kind of have two options here. You can add padding. You can add padding to your content again. Okay. You can add your padding back, and maybe you say, well, maybe 100 pixels. Again, whatever you'd like. Okay. Now you can see how it made my nav bar bigger because it added all of that padding into it. So there is padding 100 here, 100 here, 100 here, and 100 here. Okay. You can individualize the padding. You could just say, nope, I only want padding left or only padding right. Okay. So I could say padding left. Okay. So imagine that it's pushing from the left-hand side. Now you can see that it only has padding on the left-hand side. Okay. I wanted this a little bit spaced away from here. But now we need this to be separate as well. You can go ahead if you want to make your logo a little bit bigger. Remember your image. You can play around with your image. Maybe you want your image 200 by 200. Okay. That looks really cool.
Body background.
Okay. So you can do your image, the height and width, whatever you want. So I've added padding. Again, inside of the nav. Why? Because I'm just telling the nav, I want to just put padding on the left-hand side. Okay. You don't have to have yours at flex start. You could have it at the center. You could have it at the right-hand side. It doesn't matter. Okay. I want you to play around with that type of stuff. Okay. Really, the padding and margin is very crucial to understand. Now, you probably don't want your the words right next to the logo. Remember, this is its own little box. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna target this H1, and we can use margin to push it away, because remember, with a box, the margin will push away. Okay, so we can use margin for this box to push it this way. Plus, we want to make it bigger anyways and change color. Okay, so target the H1. Okay, since my image is first, I'm going to go down and target my H1. Okay. And why don't we try this? Let's first, before we do the margin, let's just see what happens if we change the font size. Okay. Font size 50 pixels. Okay. Now you can see I'm targeting the H1. Okay. And I have a font size. First, let's figure out your font size. Then it might be easier to figure out how much spacing you want. Okay. Do I want it a lot bigger? I do. What happens if I did 150? Whoa, look at that. Okay. I don't even know where the SLA went. Okay. What about 100? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's too big.
What happens if I have my SLA grammar school like that? But what happens if I make my nav bar a little bit taller? What happens if I did 300 pixels? Okay. Now it looks a little bit nicer, right? I don't know. I don't know what you like. That's however you like it to be. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Now, your items are always going to be in the center because of your align item center. So they'll always be centered up and down. Okay. Now, if I want to push the SLA away from this logo is its own box. So I want these two boxes to be separate. I'm going to use margin on the SLA grammar. Do I want to use margin all around? Do I want to do margin around the whole thing? I really don't think so, but I'll do it and see what happens. But I don't think I need margin at the top, the bottom, or the right-hand side of it. But what happens if I do 50 pixels? Okay. It actually didn't do what I thought it was going to do. I thought it would push it down a little bit more, but I guess because of the aligned item center, it's just staying in the center. Okay. So you can see now this is full screen mode for me. So if I want it more to the left, I just push it a little bit more. Okay. So again, margin, because that's a box. Now, probably to be more specific, you could just do margin left and it'll do the exact same thing. Do a color. What color do you want? COLOR, color. Okay, if you remember all this from the August when we were all doing it with the little cell phones, we were doing a lot of this. What color do you want it? Okay. Now, Mr. Victor was showing, whoops, trying to take it the wrong thing off. Mr. Victor was showing you this yesterday. Let's say you want it dark green. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe I want to do a little bit more specific of that green. So when you hover your mouse cursor, meaning you just put your mouse cursor on there, you don't left click, you get this RGB color picker. R for red, G for green, B for blue. And then you can move this little wherever you want. The color is whatever is up in here where it says RGB. So maybe I want it to be a little bit brighter. Okay, I'll leave it there and then I will refresh and I'll make it like that. Again, color. Now I know you know about color. You can do whatever you want. I think we even did text shadow. I'm almost positive we did text shadow as well. This is a really cool one. Okay. Text shadow takes 4 parameters. The X, which the X coordinate moves left and right. The Y is up and down. The blur, and then the color. So I'm going to do, let's say 10 picks. Now, it's a little confusing. You don't have to do commas in between for the text shadow. So the shadow is going to move 10 pixels to the right because the very first parameter is the X. Then I want it to move 10 pixels down because that's going to be the Y. Okay. Now, if you do negative numbers, negative X is going to go to the left, negative Y is going to go up. Then I want to do the blurriness. I'm just going to do 10 pixels. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. So 10 pixels for the X, 10 pixels for the Y, 10 pixels for the blurriness. And then I want it what color? I want mine black. And that's how mine looks. Now I can kind of figure out, does that look good? Do I want it, differently? Usually, I believe usually lower numbers for these is a little bit better. Let me try like 7 for that. I'm going to leave 10 for that one. And the last parameter, the last number parameter is blurriness. How blurry do you want it? I don't want it too blurry. Oh, I think that looks a little bit sharper. Okay. That looks really, really cool. It gives it a really cool 3D effect. Okay. Girls, it's really, 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 really important that you are practicing. Okay. It's really important that you're practicing. You can highlight this whole thing. You can control /, you can run it. It'll be all back. And then you on your own could say, how did I do all of that all over? You can then just enter down so you don't see it on your screen and start doing it again. I needed an H1. Okay. What did I need to do? I needed to do the font size. Whoopsie daisy, not that. There we go. I did font size. I don't know. I'm going to do 102 pixels. Okay. Run it and see. Oh yeah, that did work. Okay, I got it big. How did I move it to the left? I think I used padding. Let me see. Did I use padding? 70. Always, when you don't really know something, do a big number, because if you did like padding 10, you might not notice that it actually moved. Okay, the padding did work. Okay, the padding did work. Okay. I like to do this because I get crazy confused. Like, to tell you the truth, I didn't think the padding was going to work. So if I put a background around it and I can realize what is the box, that is the box of my SLA grammar school. So the reason the padding worked is because it moved itself inside of that purple box. So if I get rid of the padding, you'll notice how it goes back. If I margin, watch what happens when I margin it. It's always nice to put a background color. Then you can really visualize the box that's actually being moved. What's the difference from padding and margin left? Now look at my box. The whole box moved to the left. Okay, it's a really nice visual to use the background to realize that SLA grammar school is its own box. Again, if I did padding left, watch what happens. Watch what happens to the purple box. Take a look at where the purple box is right now in relationship to the school logo. Watch what happens when I only tell it to do padding left. look how the purple box is right next to the school logo. So the SLA, the content inside of that purple box got moved. That's the padding, not the actual box itself. Now you might look at that and go, oh, well, it's not a big deal because I'm not using this background and it looks the exact same. You're absolutely right. But in the future, it could get crazy. So putting little backgrounds around that will give you the visualization of that being its own box. Okay. So I would encourage you to constantly be practicing with this, erase it. And then if you're like, oh, I don't remember, how did I do text shadow? Go up. Oh, right, text shadow. Okay, I need to have 4 parameters without any commas in between. It might be and now the cool thing is it'll come up, you know, it's text, it was text shadow. It might be pretty common to do like 5 pixels, comma, 4 pixels, comma, my blur is going to be 5 pixels, and then I need a color red. And then you're like, how come it's not working? Well, it's because we added the commas, right? So you can go back up and go, oh yes, my text shadow doesn't have commas. So just get rid of those commas and look at that. There it worked, okay? Practice, 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 okay? All right, tomorrow, Mr. Victor will get you a nice picture below so you can play around with this. Now, I kind of liked mine like I did it yesterday. So all I'm going to do, all I want is the words on the left-hand side. All I'm going to do is grab the H1 and put it on top. And there we go, okay? Now look what it did. It went crazy. That's because of our padding. So we'd have to take that out. But I want to do mine like this. You do yours however you want, whatever colors you want, okay? Mr. Victor tomorrow, he doesn't know it, but he does now, is going to do it like this, okay? So you're going to want to be having oh, I think I took it all out, but hopefully this banner will work. Let me just get the banner. I just wanted to show you the banner. Oh, the banner's not there. Oh, darn it, I took it out. I want you to have a photo just like this. Oh, there it is. That's what I did. Hold on, let me just uncomment that out and we're all good. Okay. I want you to have a banner like this, a nice big picture, and then you can do an about school, something like that. And then he can do a whole bunch of cool CSS and styling all about this, okay? Now, obviously, this will be what you have right now. You'll add this underneath. Okay, I got this from the images that Mr. Jerry has, okay? You want to try to find an image that will go all the way across the screen, okay? So that's what you'll be working on. Now you'll notice here in this, I used something called a main. I used section. Apparently it's not really that good to use nav all over the place, although I think it is fine, okay? We probably, what we should have done is called this header, main, and then footer, okay? Okay, girls, all I can do is encourage you to practice, 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 okay? You wanna practice putting a link on, you can go to your file, you can open your folder, and you can find the one that we were doing the last 3 days. And you can see, oh yes, these are all the links. UL unordered list. Okay, how did I do the LI? Okay, so I would encourage you to do that. Okay, any questions, girls, before we leave today? did everybody understand? Everybody was understanding the padding and the margin. It's really important. Okay, think of everything as a box. Okay, and the margin is going to push that box all over the place. Padding is going to push all of the things inside of that box all over the place. Okay. All right, girls. Mr. Victor and Toby, anything you want to say to the girls before we leave for tomorrow?
No, nothing from my hand.
All right, girls, well done for today. Thanks to Mr. Jerry.
All right, girls, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. And Mr. Victor will finish this page for you. Practice, 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 practice. Control / to comment it out, and then practice writing it. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye. Bye.